afternoon, ma'am and friends. My name is Johanna Christine Febri Nenggolan, and today I would like to present the mid-test paper of Theory and Practice of Translation. The title of the paper is Translation of Various Texts and Commentary from English to Indonesia. In the introduction, I have mentioned that there is what we call ideology. What is ideology of translation? The ideology of translation means that the principle or belief of good or bad and right or wrong in translation. That is, what kind of translation is best for the reader and what kind of translation fits and likes the reader. In another definition, the ideology of translation is a belief about right and wrong in translation, which includes the strategies and methods carried out by the translator. So let's come to the analysis. According to NIDA, there are two kinds of procedures. The first procedure is technical procedure, and the second one is organizational procedures. The technical procedures is a procedure that concern the processes followed the translator in converting a source language text into target language text. Technical procedures consist essentially of three phases. The firstly, analysis of the source language and target languages. Secondly, a true study of the source language text before making attempts to translate it, or a careful study of the source language text. Thirdly, making judgments of the semantic and syntactic approximations. In other words, determining of the appropriate equivalence words. The second procedure is organizational procedures. It is a procedure that continually re-evaluating text that has already been translated. In other words, a translation, even though it comes from the same text but translated by different translator, might procedure different translation. In addition, organizational procedures are also useful for examining the communicative effectiveness and accuracy of a text. These organizational procedures also involve the general organization of such work, whether in terms of a single translator or of a committee. So let's come to the analysis what I have done in practice 1, 2, and 3. In translating the practices, I used to use the first procedure in translating the whole text. That is the technical procedures. Why did I use these technical procedures? Because the technical procedure is suitable for a beginner translator. For example, a student like me. So that I followed those three steps of these procedures. For instance, in translating the practice 1, which entitled Bendi Bugi, I followed the steps by steps that this procedures provides. Firstly, I analyzed the source language, which are Indonesian language, and many terms of Minangkabau language. I tried to comprehend the whole text and the whole of the terms in the text. Secondly, in comprehended the source language, I asked from my friends which are Minangese, and then I also search it from Google, so that I have to make sure that I get the meaning of the terms and I get the sense of the culture of the term itself. And the third pass that I have done is I paid attention to the semantic and syntactic matter of the source language, so that I can correctly translate it into English language and make sure that I give the correct equivalence and the sense of the cultural terms. For example, in translating the term boogie, I used the word itself and gave a definition in English language. For instance, in practice 1, I wrote the origin of the bendi in Minangkabau is boogie. Boogie is a two-wheeled horse-drawn carriage, but without casement or roof. So in practice 1, I borrowed the source language term, which is boogie, and then I gave definition of the term boogie in the English language. So according to the dictionary, Buggy is a two-wheeled horse-drawn carriage without casement or roof. So that's all that I did in the practice 1. Let's jump to the practice 2. In the practice 2, I translated a text from English language into Indonesian language. The form of this text is a formal text, which was a memorandum of understanding between two companies. So, because of the form of the text is a formal language, the formal text, which is an MOU between companies. I found not many, but a little bit difficulties, because this MOU consists of economic field, and then there are many economic terms in this text, so that I have to make sure that I can translate and I can understand the economic terms of this text. For example, in translating the word memorandum of understanding, I try to find the equivalence of this term in Indonesian language. So I have to search it from Google, and then I found that the equivalence of MOU in Indonesian language is nota kesepahaman. So in translating, we cannot just translate a word or a sentence just word by word, but we have to consider and we have to search the equivalence of the term in the target language. In this case is Indonesian language. And then besides there are many economic terms, I also found that this text consists of many complex and compound sentences, so that in translating it, I have to make it simpler, and so that the reader can understand what is the text means, and what are the terms of economic field itself. Then in practice 3, I translate the source language is Indonesian language. This text is a self-description of a student that wants to apply a scholarship. In translating this text, I also found many obstacles, since the writer maybe do not understand the structure of a good text that has to consist of introduction, content, and conclusion. So in translating this text, I rearrange the form of the text, so I make it well organized. And then besides all the other obstacles that I found in this text is there are many complex sentences, repetition terms, and then there are many other grammatical mistakes, so that I have to fix the structure of the text, and then translate it into the better quality of writing. Besides, I also found that many complex sentences that did not suit into the English language. Hence, I have to simplify the sentences into the Indonesian simple language, of course. In conclusion, translating process is not an easy work. After translating practice 1, 2, and 3, I consider and I realized that translating is not an easy work. A translator must have mastering the methods, the procedures, the ideology of translation, and also translating is not only translate a source language into target language, but we have to deliver the correct intention of the writer itself, and then we have to give the correct sense of the cultural terms into the target language, so that the reader of the target language can easily understand what the text means. So that's all that I have done in practice 1, 2, and 3 that I have written in the paper. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.